So everybody say hello to Arjun Dhingra. Let me introduce Arjun and how I know him, and then he'll tell his story. Today's an exciting story because Arjun was, I started my coaching business in 2009, and I want to say Arjun was client number three and still a client today. So 16 years. And along the way, we've done a lot of stuff together. We've built his mortgage business. I actually helped coach him to his second world gold medal. We'll talk about that. And we also spawned the idea of LFG Energy, LFG Society together and the second version of Arjun. But he is a two-time world gold medalist, multiple gold medalists in other international, national Taekwondo, accomplished mortgage originator with All Western Mortgage. I think you're a regional manager, right, Arjun? And he's the
Just
founder
sales
of,
and business development. Yeah.
yeah, and he's the founder of LFG Society, which is basically a mindset high performance business community, right? Which we're going to get into a little bit. And I'm really excited because I don't think there's a lot of people that have achieved as much as Arjun in terms of breadth of life, you know. And I'm actually really interested because even though I've known him for a really long time, I want to hear some Taekwondo stories because I want to kind of take it back. And a few years ago, Arjun had one of his LFG Society events, and I really liked Arjun how you looked at a room of real estate agents and loan officers and you said, it's time to start feeling sorry for yourself. We're going to beat this market together, right? And you created an entire movement. And it's that, and I'm not one for like positivity, but I'm one for positive progress and driving forward.
Yeah.
And that's where I thought that, guess what, guys? We blinked and Q1 is over. Can you believe it? We blinked and Q1 is over. And so if you need something to push you through Q2, because once Q2 is over, guess what? Half of the year is over. So if you need a little bit of that push, that's why I brought Arjun today. So we're going to talk a little bit about business. We're going to talk a little bit about martial arts, a little bit about life. Oh, and by the way, if you don't know, Arjun's brother and sister, you may or may not know them. I say that kind of sarcastically. Neil Dhingra is the creator and founder of Forward Academy, which is the big social media video marketing academy. And then Shivani Peterson is very, very accomplished originator. And I think she does some women's societies, right? Business societies. So you want to look her up too. But Arjun, let's talk about this. I actually want to talk a little bit about martial arts. So you started martial arts at what age?
I was 8 years old and I got bullied a lot as a kid. And it was the original Karate Kid, not the Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith one, but the original, the Daniel LaRusso, which is
Yeah.
obviously come full circle with the whole Cobra Kai series. But yeah, that's how I got involved. I grew up in Reno, Nevada, and where we lived in kind of a upper middle class area. In the school that we went to, there were no Indians at the school. So it's not a good look when your parents, who don't have any other frames of reference, always send you to school in a V-neck sweater and slacks. You're gonna be picked up or picked on quite a bit, especially when it's like 80 degrees outside and
Yeah.
all I want to do is play football or soccer with the other kids. So I got picked on a lot. Saw the movie, and then I just wanted to get involved in martial arts. So I begged my mom to put me in a class, and she found a Taekwondo class at the YMCA, and that's where it started.
Right. So anybody that's ever had a goal, an ambition, whether it's driven by fear, protection, ambition, and goals, I mean, for you to just start Taekwondo and to get to a point where you're competing on a world level and to get two world gold medals, what was the point that you knew, or maybe you didn't know, but it just happened to be for you, and you're like, you know what, I'm pretty good at this. And maybe you weren't as good, but you said, but I want this so badly. When did you start really being competitive? Because I think at some point in time, everybody thinks about something, but what is the switch that made you really push yourself to the highest level?
I think it kind of comes down to something that gets often really kind of cloudy and muddy, and that is, this whole talk about everyone's why. A lot of people think that people in their life or their kids or their families or their spouse or their dying parents or whatever is their why. No, 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 that's actually your who. Everybody's got a who of what they do something for. And if you don't, then maybe it's just for you on a personal level. That's fine. but everyone's got a who. But the why is something that's deeper and darker, and it's very personal. Maybe it's an inner critic, maybe it's a limiting belief, maybe it's just something that's within you that it's unspoken. It doesn't always have to be like this positive thing. It could be a dark thing that kind of fuels you. Like you talk about Tom Brady. Tom Brady's why was getting picked late.
Hmm.
Okay. That's his why. Who he does things for are his kids. Some people say, oh, he does it for his kids. He's actually, no, no, no. That's your who. It's the why is very different. It's very, very personal. So for me, I'd gotten involved, at 8, stuck with it. I got my black belt when I was 11 and then played other sports in middle school and high school. I played football and ran track. And I stuck with martial arts even through, college, although I wasn't training as much. And then after college, I got back into training a little bit more. I kept advancing. I got my fifth degree black belt the year after I graduated college. I was the youngest fifth degree in the country when I got it, and it was a cool milestone and honor. And then a couple of years later, they opened up this division at the World Championships level for fifth degrees to be able to compete. Ordinarily, up to that point, it had not been allowed, or it was kind of an afterthought because most people that made it to fifth degree were really old, so they couldn't compete. So they didn't have a division, they didn't have a senior citizen division or a geriatric division for Taekwondo on a global stage. But I made this announcement because there were more and more younger fifth degrees being promoted around the world. And they said, we're going to open up this section. And I thought, you know what? I've always kind of wanted to have the opportunity to represent country because whenever we watch the Olympics or we see our friends that serve in the military and they're wearing the stars and stripes and doing something for this country, it's very there's something so admirable about it. There's something so honorable about it, and it's cool. And we all would love that opportunity, and not everybody gets it. But I thought, here's an opportunity to do it. So I wanted to go out. Of course, I'm thinking, it would be really cool to get a medal or whatever. But I said, you know what? I stopped and said, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. And a lot of it was, just the mindset of staying very present. And I said, you know what? I just want to pursue this as a personal growth experience. What bad could come of it? Even if I lose, I got to represent my country if I make the team and get to go out and the world championships that year were taking place in London or just outside of London. I thought this will be a really cool life-changing experience. So I'm going to do this. I'll give it my all. So I went all in on it. So when I did it though, when I really made the decision to do it, and I remember where I was standing in my house in the dining room having some coffee, kind of just looking out at the mountains. And I said, if I do this, I'm going to do it. There's no, like, it was a full commitment that I made to it. Right there was a promise with myself. I'm not going to leave any stone unturned. Employ the best coaches or trainers, whatever I have to do this within my means, of course, and really give this my all because I don't want to half-ass it because I don't know what kind of opportunity, I may ever get like this. And I think everybody, whatever big thing you're trying to do in life, it doesn't have to be competing on a global stage. You have to be really all in because if I can tie this back to mortgage guys for a second, and everybody on here is a lender, right? Every single person.
95% I've
And the
invited
other five, and the other 5%?
real estate
Okay.
investors. I got some of my attorney clients
Okay,
as
so
well.
I'm speaking as a lender, which, and I respect and love everybody in our industry because it all falls under the real estate umbrella, as Kai says. There's adjacent industry, there's mortgage, there's title, there's marketers, there's real estate agents, there's brokers, there's investors. But I'm speaking as a lender. Like and coming at this with you guys, like I feel right now like more than it's ever been in the industry, right? And I've been around for just 24 brief years. I've still got plenty to learn and plenty more to be exposed to, but I've got some frames of reference. If you are not 100% all in and committed, like kind of like what I said I had to do in that moment when I was in the dining room and just looking out, and I still remember it clear as day, just like as if it was yesterday. I said, I'm going to give this my all. I'm going to commit to it. I'm not going to half-ass it. This isn't just going to be for fun. I'm going to, take this very, very seriously. And I want to silence this inner critic of somebody saying, like he'd never be able to compete at that level or he'd never be able to do something like this. Because I had heard that when I was kind of coming up and I was a teenager and I was like, okay, I didn't really put much stock in it because I didn't care enough. I'm like, fine, you can say that about me. I'm playing other sports anyways. But I tapped back in and I'm like, you know what? No, I'm gonna go all in on this and I'm gonna prove all that shit wrong right now. So for the market, for where we're at right now, I implore everyone to be all in. And I don't mean that just as a general expression. I mean this as an energy. You have to be all in because if we aren't 100% all in on what we're doing as mortgage advisors, as real estate professionals, 100, not 99, 100% all in. If you're not 100% all in, the client is going to see that or smell it the way a shark smells blood in the water. Because right now, the consumer or client is at about 50 or 60% all in, because the other 40 is clouded by negativity fueled by either the media, threats of potential job loss, all the political uncertainty, the geopolitical stuff, the sky is falling, the media saying that housing is crashing. They are not all in. Now, I'll flip this for you so that you can understand the concept or the context of it, which is that during COVID, the consumer was 100% all in because they needed to move. They were getting a divorce. They needed a home gym. They need a home office. They need to get to the suburbs. They're starting a family. Their life has changed forever because of the pandemic. They were 100% all. They didn't need any of us. We merely facilitated transactions, mortgage and real estate. I'm sorry. Nobody was an exceptional, unbelievable agent or lender. You were just good or not good at facilitating and transactions and herding cats. It was chaos. They were all in. This is why you saw so many lenders and agents who weren't all in make incredible amounts of money. They were maybe 50 or 60% all in, and they came in and made a shit ton of money. There are agents in San Francisco that I know that made over $1 million during the COVID market. They still rent. They don't believe in this asset class. They don't give a shit about real estate. They just came in and made a quick buck, not because they were good agents. And a lot of us would get frustrated. Is this relating to anyone that you saw people coming into the market and doing really well, even as lenders? They were coming in and cleaning house and sometimes cleaning your clock and eating your lunch,
Yeah.
and my lunch. I'm like, dude, they don't even care about this industry. They got in just a few months ago or a few years ago. Again, didn't matter where they were at because the consumer was all in. We have to be all in right now. So is everyone understanding what I'm throwing down here?
I want to unpack a little bit of that because
Yeah.
how many of you, first of all, what percentage are you really all in your day? Like, be honest with yourself. And the reason why I say that is, like, if I had to be honest with myself, sometimes I may be 60% all in. And what I mean by that is that, take this for what it is. Sometimes I'll let my natural talent get by and get me to where I am, but it doesn't mean I'm 100% committed, right? There's a difference. And I want you guys to understand something. When you're competing at the world level, when you have a chance to compete in the Olympic, Olympic level type of thing, there is only one choice, is to go all in. Because if you don't, like, you're competing with the best in the world. You're competing with the best in the world. One of the things that I've noticed, and wouldn't you agree, Arjun, is that there's a huge chasm in success right now in the real estate and mortgage industry where, I'll talk in mortgage terms. You're either doing less than 5 loans or you're doing more than 10. There's no middle class. And so you can tell the people that are all in, these are the ones that are competing. They're getting the medals. They're going to, like, the world stage in terms of mortgage. And then there's everybody else. And if you're not all in, you're not even getting past the trials, right? Like, you're not representing your country. There is nothing less than that. So if you're sitting on the outside, if you come to these events and you come to other events and you're always sitting on the outside and you're looking at guys like Arjun and everybody else competing, whether it's in Taekwondo, world-class Taekwondo, or world-class mortgage or world-class real estate or whatever industry you're in, is because you haven't made that commitment. But let me ask you this question, because I think this goes through everybody's head. First of all, how old were you? And I'm surprised, or maybe you have to talk about this, that didn't you have any fears? Didn't you have any self-talk and beliefs? Or were you too young to think that way? Or was your why, not your who, was your why stronger than that?
It's possible. Yeah, there's one thing I want to just backtrack on before I answer that question because it's a great one. And it's about this all in thing, guys. It's not an energy thing. I got days where I'm at 70, 80%, 60% because we're tired. You're raising families, there's stresses, your pipeline blew up. I get that. What I really mean on the all in is your belief in this industry and the asset class, that you believe in what you're selling. You're not a BMW driver that's selling a Mercedes, right? Because everyone's like, well, why the fuck are you driving that car if you are selling me this? I mean, all in on the asset class. Do you believe in real estate? Do you believe in the power of leveraging debt? Do you believe in the responsibility that this is actually a tool and not a liability if utilized correctly? And we are experts and advisors that can actually help guide people. Because if you're not, you have to reconcile that. They will see that through you. They'll see right through you like a sheet of paper, right? Or like I said, the way a shark smells blood in the water. You got to be all in on the industry and the asset class and have belief in it, because they are shaky on it. They don't believe in it because they did years ago during COVID, because they had such a strong need or desire. They believed in it. I'm going to get the things we need. I'm going to get away from you because we're getting divorced, or I'm going to get my home office or get this or that if I buy a house. I'm all in. They didn't need us to do anything. They were all in. They're not now. So you had better be in terms of your belief in this. And if it's not, figure out why that is. Maybe you don't believe in mortgages anymore. And if you don't, this is not the right career because for everybody now going forward, it's moving too fast, it's too difficult, it's too challenging, it's too whatever. You've got to be all in terms of your belief in it. Does that make sense, guys? I'm not talking all in
Yeah.
like you got to be
And
operating at 100 every day. That's just not realistic. I get it. We're all human beings. Everyone is working with different energy levels, sleep patterns, all the things that Kai talks about in coaching about how we can actually be better, more efficient, optimal machines. Like it's challenging and it ebbs and flows, but just be all in on the asset class itself and your belief of it so that your clients feel safe. And so does the rest of the industry because you'll be magnetic, you'll draw more people in, you'll build a better referral group, more partners, what have you. So to your question, Kai, the naivete was bliss in the sense that I'd never really gone through it. And I think there was something you had taught me before, and a lot of visualization came into this, is that our brains don't know the difference between whether or not we've done something or we haven't when we actually get to a big moment. If you have visualized it so clearly and almost embedded it in your head as if this has already happened or that there's some familiarity with this and you've been there before, there will be a certain sense of calm that will actually hit you in a real surprising way that I can't even articulate for you. And I did a lot of that. You know, the other thing, and this was something I learned from Kai early on also, there is a difference in terms of the actual definition, but the feeling is the same between being nervous and ready. If you are nervous, it just means, it actually means, if it is true nervousness, that you're not actually prepared. So you're probably going to meet this moment and be taught a valuable lesson, you know, so that you prepare a little bit better next time. Now, this means also you could still feel those butterflies and feel a little bit of that anxiety that you're misinterpreting as nervousness, but you're actually fully ready and prepared. You left no stone unturned. You did everything you needed to do. You have no doubts, no second guesses. You did everything that was in your control to meet this moment, whatever it is, a big presentation, a keynote you're giving, a realtor office pitch, competing on a global stage, whatever it is. You could still feel that, but that's not nervousness. That is just the anxiousness that you're excited and ready to go. But the body doesn't know the difference. So it'll feel the exact same in either scenario. Is this making sense, guys? It'll
yeah,
feel the exact
adrenaline
same.
rushes. There's
Yes,
adrenaline rush junkies.
totally. You will feel
People
it the
that
exact same way. The only
Yeah, people
difference is,
that
and
hate
Renee said
adrenaline,
this.
people that hate that feeling, some people love that feeling. The
Yeah.
body doesn't know the difference. It's just what you interpret. It's what you
That's
interpret.
right.
We've
Renee
talked
said it a
about,
long time ago. We have butterflies. It's just the difference is in the latter scenario, you're getting the butterflies to fly in sequence. They're just flying in unison, right? You're just getting them to fly in sequence. Like, okay, I know what I'm feeling here, but I'm ready. I'm good.
yeah,
And I had that feeling very much so after I like made the finals in 2007 at this first one. And I didn't know. I've never made a finals. I've never been on such a stage. There's thousands of people there, a full arena. And it's crazy. There's laser shows going on for the finals with all the athletes that walk out from the tunnel. It was a very real moment, but I was like, okay, I kind of had this calming moment too, where it started to get a little big to me because I was like, holy shit, like this is the finals and I'm going for a gold medal right now. And I might get to hear my national anthem played. But then I just kind of calmed down and stayed a little bit present with that and recognized that it's not nervousness. I'm just excited. But that that naivete, Kai, to bring it back full circle to your question, it played in. It definitely was part of it. There wasn't any fear or anything like that. I don't think fear and real true nervousness or whatever come in until we have a frame of reference to compare something to like in the past because you've either been through it, maybe you failed, maybe you fell short, then those demons come back. Is this going to happen again? And then you can get swept up in it. So when we're doing
yeah,
something sometimes for the first time, it's actually in our favor, to give this a go because you don't know any different.
yeah, is a naivety. I was actually listening to Jay Shetty earlier this morning, and he actually talked about when he was young, there was a moment like he went to school and his parents, you probably relate to this a little bit. His parents dressed him up in like the Indian clothes and all that stuff, and he got laughed at. And it's funny how that childhood drama can hold something inside of you. And if you've ever feared something, or if you feared embarrassment, or you don't like the way you look at something on video, it could have been because somebody laughed at you in elementary school, something, and those things. But it's funny how we hold on to that. But what's also funny
Mhm.
is that the people that didn't happen to, so they don't have that frame of reference, right? It doesn't hold them back. But the difference is that in the future, those two adults are really the same people. One is just holding on to
Yeah.
something, and one's not. It's that quietness. And we've talked about the concept of choking, right? We
Yeah.
talked, when we trained, what year was that? 2014 or
12.
whatever, right? 12.
12. 12 was,
When we trained
12 was the
together.
lost year, but then the 14 was the rebound year. Yeah.
Yeah. So 2014 and I worked with Arjun purely, I do martial arts because I'm Asian, but I don't do Taekwondo. Yes, Dylan, I'm Asian, but I did train Arjun in terms of mindset, high performance, and everything like that. And that's how we work together. But tell us a little bit about, talk to us about a couple things. First thing, explain to them what the concept of choking is. And also, did your, how did you stack up your competition? Did they make you nervous? Did you compare yourselves to them a lot?
Totally. Yeah, there was a
I
bit
think
of that. And
that's a component of choking, right?
totally. If you will choke if you get swept up in all the externals rather than what you're, and it's normal. Again, you're gonna feel. But again, tying this back to industry, guys, like we will we will choke if we are comparing ourselves to the other people in our industry, the other people in our office that are maybe doing better, and then we get obsessed. How is this guy doing better? And making that a fixation of obsession or focus, as opposed to one. And this is really hard to do, guys, but once you do get to this point, it's very freeing. Just being happy for them and actually appreciating, oh, that's great that this person's doing well. I am
Yeah.
happy for them. I'll find my
So the
own pathway,
definition
right?
of choking is that when you're thinking so much about external things, how do I look? Is it going to look? Am I look stupid? Am I nervous? That you're not thinking about what you're supposed to be doing. When Arjun goes up to the
Yeah.
world stage, we worked on this a lot. In 2014, when he was up, I said, the only thing that you have to be thinking about is the task at hand. Is the task at hand. And one of the things that we did, which was kind of interesting, I said, when you arrive to that arena in Rio and all the different cities that you're in across the country, I said, go ahead and go there early. I want you to look around the stadium and look at every single corner, every single light, because I want none of that to distract you or surprise you while you're competing. So it's out of your mind, and the only thing that you can focus on is just your competition at hand. Just your competition at hand. Now,
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about recovering from failure because you didn't make it in 2012, right? And you got to bounce
Yeah.
back from that sometimes. And I think a lot of us that have been in the industry for a long time, we either got kicked into the teeth in 2008, or like, well, that's not going to happen again. Well, guess what? 2023 happened again, right? And so every year it's like, did we have a good year? Did we have a good month? But you've experienced failure. You've experienced sometimes not making the podium by a tenth of a point.
Mm-hmm.
How did you bounce back from that? Because we've all
I
at
think
some point have experienced that.
I think what everybody has to recognize is that wins don't teach you anything. They simply reward you for being prepared and seizing the moment. A lot of people can get a false sense of security and accomplishment by getting a lot of wins. Again, i.e., the COVID market, right? Everybody was winning. That can give you a false sense of security. None of us were the secret sauce. I'm sorry to burst anyone's bubble if you still have awards hanging on your wall from it. I mean, it's great. You can do that for your own self-confidence and whatnot, but that wasn't that special because there were far low levels of incompetent people that were like putting up huge numbers. And quite honestly, I don't want to be compared to any of that stuff. So we're just kind of, that's a bit of a wash. But a win does not teach you any lessons. The losses, the setbacks, the kicks to the teeth, the bashing in of your shins, if you use it wisely, will create what I call for people the Rocky 3 moments. So if I ask everybody on this call, what's your favorite Rocky? Most people throw in the chat, actually. I just want to prove the experiment. What's your favorite Rocky movie of all of them? And if you say I've never watched Rocky, I need you to get off this call. And wow, number one, okay, that's a good one. Okay. Original. Okay. That wasn't I think the original or number two was nominated for Best Picture
I
back in
have
the
a
day,
10
right?
second I have a 10-second funny story. I was at my friend's house the other, this was several years ago, 10 years ago. This was when
Yeah.
Netflix still had DVDs. She had Rocky 1 and then Rocky Balboa. And she goes, I'm
Yeah.
watching this for the first time. I said, those are classics. I said, but and then she said, yeah, it's crazy how they made the second movie so many years apart. And I looked at her, I'm like, what are you talking about? Didn't you watch Rocky 2, 3, 4? She goes, there were Rockies in between. I'm like, yeah, what did you think there was Rocky 1 and Rocky Balboa? Anyways, total sidetrack.
Yeah.
So
It could
Rocky
happen.
moments, let's talk
So
about that.
listen, so I'm actually surprised. This is interesting. A lot of people are saying one. I love it. That was a great one, obviously. But like when I've spoken on stages and I asked this, can I by a show of hands, generally the overwhelming favorite is Rocky 4. because of the cinematography and the fight with the Russian and avenging Apollo's death. Everyone knows what I'm talking about, right? So it ends up being this like, it's the one that gets everybody really pumped up, and the soundtrack was great, of course. But Rocky 3 for me was always my favorite because it was about the bounce back. And I think everybody can relate to this because you all need to figure out what your Rocky 3 moment was. For me, it was in 2012, where you're doing well, you're coming along, just like Rocky was, and then he lost everything, right? His whole confidence and state of existence went into question. Like, was I ever really that good? That's when all the doubts set in. When, a lot of the fear, the second guessing, you feel like you've kind of been living a lie, maybe. Like I was never really that good. So I had this in 2007 when I won. I took 2010 off because my sister had gotten married and I didn't compete that year. And I thought maybe I was just only doing it once. But then I was like, in 2012, I'm going to do this again. Gave it my absolute all, had no regrets about anything that I did from the training camp to the preparation, whatever. I had a lot of chaos in my life because my dad had been diagnosed with cancer. Not an excuse. Everyone's dealing with something. And then I went through a really bad breakup, kind of a crazy breakup, which Kai helped me through literally 2 weeks before I left to fly to Canada for those world championships. And in the end, I lost on a 3-2 decision to the eventual silver medalist, who's a good friend of mine from Argentina. And it was devastating on some levels because I put so much into it. But if I had won there, it would have cheated me out of the experience and the lesson that I needed, which was to go back and have the Rocky 3 moment. So what happened in Rocky 3, right? Like he lost, he ends up teaming up with an old adversary, which is Apollo, right? And that's what really kind of brought their friendship together. Retools himself, and after getting through some mental roadblocks, after with his wife and going through some things, and I'm just kind of recalling the movie here, guys. He puts himself into the best shape possible and comes out a completely different version and a better version, and not only like slayed the dragon and struck down all the demons, but put himself back to where he belonged, where he always knew he belonged, but at some point along the way started to doubt its existence because he fell. He lost. So for everybody, you need a Rocky 3 moment because that's what you're ultimately going to tap into. I was obsessed. I went to bed every single night for 2 years between 2012 and 2014 with the feeling of not having my hand raised when the decision was made. And I still remember it like yesterday what it felt like. My hand wasn't raised. I dropped my head in disappointment. I looked down. I can still remember staring right at my feet on the mat there and just thinking, fuck, okay. Like, you have to accept it. It's a zero-sum game. Somebody wins, somebody loses. Can't do anything about it. But the comeback starts right then and there. I didn't realize it, but the comeback started right then and there. Like the moment I left, I knew I wasn't done. I knew this was unfinished business and I was going to do even more. I would tap into even more and just unleash hell and give this thing my all. And that's what I did 2 years later. And that's where a lot of the deep work that I started doing with Kai started. When I got home, I remember him telling me, like, we got to get back to the drawing board on some things, but we're not going to change much. We're just going to do more of it. There's certain things that are in your control. And look, you can't win every single thing. I would have come back with immense regret if I had looked myself in the mirror, had a call with Kai afterwards, like, did we do everything? And like, yeah, I could have done a little more. I didn't want to have that feeling. And I don't think any one of us wants to have that feeling. When you're on the flight over to the big moment or the big pitch you're making, or you're walking into that real estate office, or you're walking in to meet with partners, whatever it is that you're going to do, when you're walking down what I call the tunnel, okay, I call it the tunnel because that's what you walk through to get to the arena. From the competitor warm-up area, I called it the tunnel exercise. You need to be asking yourself, have I done everything to meet this moment head on? And that answer better be unequivocally yes. It needs to be absolutely yes. I've done everything, because there will be a sense of calm that will come over you, like, all right, let's see where the cards fall. I can have no doubts or regrets now because I've done everything I needed to do to prepare. And if you do second guess at that point, you're already fucked. You're fucked. And I don't mean to be so blunt about it, but you are. That's what's just going to happen. And that's the level that we have to operate at, guys. It's not to be mean or to say, well, maybe I'd have a chance. Why? How could you say that, Arjun? No. At that level, at that stage, if there's just a shadow of you saying, I could have done more. And of course, guys, don't get me wrong. Like, there's always something you could say, yeah. But I mean, in the broad context, being very realistic about it, did you do everything you needed to do to prepare? If you checked every box and you met every moment along the way and you took it day at a time and building up to whatever big moment you're preparing for, and you ask yourself that question, am I ready? Like, did I do everything? Good. You'll be fine. There'll be some great level of success. But I think the Rocky 3 moment for everyone needs to be recalled. And I would encourage you guys to journal it, have it down. Maybe it's a photo. Maybe it's a photo of something terrible that happened, like,
You know,
your old house
it's
that you
funny you
lost.
say that
Yep.
because Tony Robbins talks a lot about change happens when you're sick and tired of something.
Yeah.
And obviously there's this positive mindset of driving towards some goal, but I think we have to embrace the failures, not be afraid of them. I think we have to
Yeah.
own them. You know, you still vividly remember to this moment in 2012, your hand not being raised. I remember in
Yeah.
2011 when the Lakers played Orlando in the finals. I think it was 2011 or 2010. And Dwight Howard, when the Lakers were raising the trophy in his arena, he purposely sat and watched the Lakers raise the trophy because and people ask him, why did you sit there and watch it? He says, I want to remember this moment. So I don't want to feel this again. I don't want to see this again.
Exactly. I don't want to feel this ever
I don't
again.
want to see this,
Exactly.
I don't want to feel this again. And I think a lot of times we run from our failures instead of looking back, embracing them, accepting responsibility for how we got there, and then making that moment, making that change. Right now, there is one thing that also was very important in Rocky 3 and your journey is that to make that change, you enlisted some new people in your life. Rocky involuntarily did because Apollo Creed came and says, I'm going to help you. But a lot
Right.
of moments, you need somebody there to help you with that change. You know, I've been
Yep.
talking about this a lot. If you're out of shape and you want to go work out, the thought's okay, the commitment's okay. And I look at somebody and say, you want to increase your chances, go find a workout partner, right? You need that person there. We talked, you had
Yep.
your coaches, you had everything else. I mean, Arjun has also been Team USA coach for several years, and that's what you were there for them. And I think that also, people need to realize that it's a team game. Find
Yeah.
your tribe, right? Find the
Yep.
people that are going to support you, through all
Well,
those.
and for everybody here, like I want to like make sure that we keep this conversation, which has been I'm enjoying this, and hopefully this is helpful, guys, on some level. If you drop in the chat and just say that it is on some level, but what is everybody kind of facing right now, and be vulnerable about it. And what do you think's holding you back? Is it external stuff? Is it how you view yourself? Are you just negative on this, or do you feel like maybe you're not 100% all in, like I talked about? Like I don't actually believe in this industry anymore. It sucks. I don't like the company I work for really, and that's hurting my belief. Maybe you think that mortgages are just going to go away and it's all going to be AI now. Like, what? Just be honest about it. Like, what is
It
the
could be a
thing?
lot of work.
Yeah,
I
maybe you're
don't
just tired
understand
of the work.
technology. I don't want to
No.
look stupid on video.
Yeah, whatever. But everybody throw in the chat, please, and then Kai and I can kind of continue to guide this conversation. I'm going to share this with you guys as you guys do this, and as Kai is kind of assessing this. Kai, can I share my screen real fast?
Yeah.
Am I able to?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. I want to just share something with you guys real quick. Okay. Can everybody see this? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just quickly. All right. Are you guys able to see these quotes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Slide
good.
two.
So, oh, slide two. Yeah, it's all right. It's got it in presenter mode, but that's
Yeah. Yeah.
okay. It's not a formal presentation, guys. If everybody like, it's time to get a little bit pissed off now for the rest of the year, whether you're an agent or a lender. Like for these next 3 quarters, I need everyone to really like start to develop that chip on the shoulder and figure out this why part, the dark, deep thing that it must be. That's something that's very personal to you. And you tell me if any of these questions resonate with you, because if you are being asked these questions when somebody picks up the phone to call you, you're in the exact same spot I was when I was ready to quit about 7 years ago. And I called Kai and said, I think I'm done with this industry. I can't take it because I wasn't 100% all in anymore. I believed in the industry somewhat, but I was lacking belief in what other people thought of me. And it was because this is how it was commoditized. People would call me and say, I was giving your number to call and check for rates. Not, hi, how are you? I heard you're an expert. I heard you're really good at this. So and so told me that you are a specialist with first time home buyers, and that's what I am. So I need your expertise and guidance. No, there was no respect. I was given your number to call and check for rates. Would you, this one, the second one's my favorite because it was very prominent here in San Francisco. It still is. I actually got a call for this a couple of months ago from somebody. Still to this day. I laughed. I'm like, you're not serious, are you? But anyways, that conversation went a little different. Would you like to split my Zillow lead costs? Or could you bring bagels and coffee to sponsor my open house? If you're getting calls like this, guys, they think of you as nothing more than a doormat. This is how the industry views you, right? If these are the calls you're getting, what's your rate? If the conversation opens that way, what's it going to cost me to work with you? Can anyone relate to this or having gotten these calls at some point in their career or maybe even presently? Is anyone getting these? If you are getting these calls, then we have to change the way the market views you. When I got these calls, I was ready to literally bounce right out of there. Let me show you this slide right here. Okay, because this was my life. I would beg for business from an agent. And for you, 5% of the call here that are agents, you guys can laugh at this because because you've got 50 emails in your inbox for agents wanting to, or lenders wanting to take you out for coffee. You don't have to buy another cup of coffee for probably all of Q2 because you've got enough free coffees lined up in there from some lender that wants to take you out. So I would beg for business. Then I'd get a lead. Generally, it was a shit lead, not even closable. It was just their way of trying to silence me and just get me off their back. Then I'd have to fight to secure and perform on it and do the unthinkable of making 1+1 = 3. Then somehow it would close, all while dealing with systematic harassment from the agent about when are we getting docs, when's this closing, micromanagement, whatever. And then I'd get off the treadmill and have to do this again. Does this cycle relate to anybody? This is going 1-to-1. You're chasing the deal, you secure it, you do everything you have to do to close it. You get off the treadmill, you're exhausted, you're like, shit, I need to do it again. But at some point, I needed to try and figure out some kind of a switch of how to go one to many. And when I told Kai when I was ready to quit, because I got stood up for a realtor meeting that particular day, I'll never forget it, where I was standing, the coffee shop, I still drive by it every now and again. It's just up Market Street here in San Francisco. It's called Cafe Flore. And it's a beautiful indoor-outdoor space. Supposed to meet this agent there who, mind you, I was at 16 years in my career up to that point, almost 17 years. He was in the business 3 years. Okay. So it's not that I'm trying to be elitist about anything. Please don't get me wrong. If you know me, you know that's not a word that I would ever associate with myself or how I would describe myself. I was just thinking that there would be some degree of respect there for my knowledge, my expertise, and what I bring to the table, as opposed to, you having only been in for 3 years. Not that I'm better than you. I just figured maybe we'd see each other as peers, right? Or as equals, at the very least. He cancels me the way you cancel an Uber driver because I got there early. I said, hey, John, what can I order you? I'm here early. He says, I'm not going to make it. He didn't lie to me. He could have said I'm held up, or, he could maybe double booked. But he couldn't even, he just dismissed me and said, I'm not going to make it. No apology, nothing. Like, that feels like shit. So I just had coffee by myself. Then I got yelled at by a couple of agents. I lost the deal. I walked outside on my cell phone and I called Kai. And I was like, dude, I literally think the universe is telling me to quit this industry. And we all joke that you're not really truly in the mortgage industry unless you contemplate quitting once a month. Even to this day, we all are like, why do I do this? That's totally normal. You're human. But he says, look, man, I know you're good at what you do, and you know you're good at what you do, but does anybody else? Does anyone else? And I was like, no, other than my martial arts background, if you Google me, that's all you're going to find. And Kai said, I don't know exactly what the answer is, man, but you're going to have to change that. Figure out what needs to be done so that you can change it. Because, guys, if you have visibility, you'll always have business. This whole thing for me, in terms of having an online brand and a presence, was just about this. You're not trying to get more deals. That'll happen later. Don't get ahead of yourself. That comes back into the whole choking formula, because that's what you're obsessed with, is the end, not what happens in between and the process. If you create visibility, which we all have 100% control, 100% control over the visibility quotient. We control how visible we are. How many platforms am I on? How vocal am I? How many emails did I send out with my newsletter campaign? We control it. But if you create visibility, it will lead the business, no doubt. Will absolutely lead the business. The last thing I'll say, and then I'll just pause on this, and then we can talk more, Kai, is this is the context. SOI is sphere of influence. Everyone's heard about it's all about who you know. It's all about who you know. That sphere of influence is important, and that's how we all got into business. That's what we were all taught, right? Whether it was by your parents that taught you this or your sales manager, and that's fine. But that's about who you know. What I want everyone to now flip it and start thinking about going forward is this is all now about who knows me. Not who do I know, but who knows me. And that's where the market circle here, which is actually 1,000,000 times bigger than SOI. The market is infinite. It's endless. It's so massive and it keeps going. So who knows me? If I put out content, if I get more vocal, if I speak up, and remember, guys, if you don't do it, somebody else will, who's far less competent and is just using the tools. That's the only difference. They're making the effort. We may not be. That's all it comes down to. It's just effort. But if I make myself well known and visible to where I'm popping up everywhere, the market now becomes my fishing pond, not my sphere of influence. And with that visibility, if I can establish credibility, because we're all good at what we do, everyone here knows they're good at what they do when it comes to this profession. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing it. You have some level of belief. I know we waver from time to time because, again, we're all human, but we all believe that we're good at what we do and that we have something real and tangible to offer this market. Do we not? We all do. So if we know that, and there's some competence there that's established with what we're putting out with our voice, and we're being visible, we're doing this at scale, you will have endless amounts of business. And that's when it's game over. And you'll outlast everything. There's no level of disruption, AI, new system, whatever
Yeah.
is going to be coming about in the future that'll ever disrupt that.
Let's talk about something. So
Yeah.
the concept is best known is better than best. You've said that a lot.
Yes.
Best known is better than best. And
Yep.
here's another example. So by the way, if you don't follow Arjun on Instagram and social media, it's Arjun Mortgage. But I was introduced, well, not introduced, but I had connected with Marie Boatsman. And Marie Boatsman, I
Yeah.
had her on one of my mega coaching sessions actually to start the year. And we were chatting, and I remember I asked her, I said, how do you know Arjun? And she goes, I don't know. I just saw him on Instagram. But I've gotten to know her as a friend, and I actually interviewed her. And Marie followed the same path. She said that I was slaving every day, trying to be a really great real estate agent. Fast forward, she's one of the top real estate agents in the Portland area. And I asked her what changed. She said, I realized that agents were beating me not because they were better, it's because they were better known. And then she went all in on her exposure and visibility. And she said, I just shot to the top. Now, here's the thing. Just because you're well known, if you're well known in your shit, right? We don't want that either. But a lot of you do a really, really good job. It's just that you're a secret. Nobody knows about you, you know?
Yeah.
Arjun has said that about me sometimes. Man, we gotta not make you a secret a little bit more, Kai, right? And it's the visibility play. But let me ask you this question, okay? Because this is a question that gets asked a lot. Christine McConnell, one of my coaching clients. There's a lot of people that are coaching clients of mine. I actually heard one from somebody today. He said, I want to do AI because I don't like to be on camera. What do you say to the people that say, I hear you, Arjun, but it's overwhelming. It's either overwhelming because of the technology, it's either overwhelming because it's so new, it's either overwhelming because I don't like to be on camera. I don't like the way that I look. I don't like the way that I sound, or it's overwhelming because I got to do it every single day. But there was a point that was exactly you. There was a point that was exactly you. We rewound the clock. We rewind the clock. You were in that same spot. But where were the steps that took you past that to where you are today? Because I think a lot of times people see the end result. Oh, look at Arjun. He's got 18,000 followers on Instagram. He's got, but they don't see the first shitty video that you did or the second one or the third one. Your brother, Neil, I was laughing so hard when he showed a photo of a real estate office that he presented to. They didn't even give him a room. He had to present in the hallway. But
That's
nobody
right.
hears about that story. So what is your
Nobody
advice for
does.
the people that, like Christine, that say, I understand what you're saying, but everything feels overwhelming, you know?
I think it's just like, guys, it just comes, everyone's got to pay their dues, but nobody knows how long those dues are or how much they are. Nobody does. The universe kind of will tell you that on its own. It's going to decide for you. So you keep doing the thing until the universe decides that it's really your time or the opportunities present. But as long as you remain in integrity to yourself and your craft, and you're trying to get better and you're stacking opportunity upon opportunity and you're always seizing the moment, even if it was just for one person. I've done webinars where two people showed up and they promised hundreds, and it didn't matter. I've shown up, it's the same thing. I've shown up where I was brought in to talk and do a social media workshop for a bunch of agents. They had a huge shakeup. I'll never forget this. This wasn't even that long ago. This was just a few years ago. It was at a Keller Williams office here in San Francisco. One person showed up. One person. Now, I could look at them like, this sucks. It was a waste of my time. I'm like, no, I got the opportunity here to perform, to speak in front of one, to run through this deck, to go through my, tactics and explain. And if I can help this one person, well, then, I've done my job. I did what I'm supposed to in terms of being a good steward of this industry. But everybody, again, to Kai's point and his question here, just assumes that you just got there or that it just happened for you and it's not so easy. No, they don't understand. It's like when people would tell me, "Oh, you're so talented." And I know they mean that in a nice way, but to say I'm talented actually diminishes all the work, all the failures, all the setbacks, all the one person showing up or whatever it is that I've had in order to actually get to this point. I'm not talented. What I am is relentless. I refuse to be outworked. And I think personal mantras, guys, are really important for us as we're going through market shifts and cycles and changes and hard and challenging periods of time. You've got to have a mantra of something you tap into. It kind of goes back into the why. But my thing is, I just refuse to be outworked. You might be more talented than me. You might have lower rates than me. In fact, you probably do as my competition. You might have a better underwriting system, a cooler CRM, a bigger bank. I don't care. You won't outwork me. I have direct control over that.
Well,
You might
you
make,
you said it too. You said it too. Even if you did show up and there were 100 people, a win isn't a win doesn't always say the whole thing. But when you showed up and
totally.
when there were 2 people or one person that taught you something, it probably
Yeah.
lit a fire in you. You still got a chance to
Yep.
practice. Hermosi says, go do something, and even if it's not good enough, even if you felt about it, go do it again and do it better. And it's amazing what happens over
Mhm.
time because everybody here has a choice. It's March 20th, 2025. You can put in the commitment to do the work every single day until December 31st, or you cannot. But what are the chances that if you did the first thing that you're going to be better by over 200 days? By over 200 days, right? And we have that choice.
Mhm.
You said that in San Francisco. You said the same quote. You said, I think it's offensive sometimes when people say you're so talented. And, I didn't mention this, but you know what drives me up the wall? And it's a motivation for me. And I'm going to say this kind of humorously. When I see somebody less talented, uglier,
Mhm.
shorter, dumber, less privileged, whatever, far out surpass my success, that really pisses me off because they had less than me and they outworked me.
And they did more, yeah.
That's actually one of my biggest motivators of all is watching
Totally.
people with less things outwork me. I think every single person here knows somebody who had less and they started at the same time as you. Every single person here knows somebody who started at the same time as you or after you and beat you,
Yep.
right?
Happens all the time.
But here's the thing. You should use that though. Don't like fear it. Don't say I'm embarrassed about it. Use it, right? Use it as your fuel. It's your why. I love what Arjun said. It's your why, not your who. Because your kids eventually they grow up and they go get married and they take care of themselves. But for the empty
Yeah.
nesters like me, I still got to work for myself. My who is not them anymore, right? It's me, right?
Yeah.
And what is that what?
Yeah. And yep. And the impact you want to have and what it is that you want to do. Yeah. Like how do you want to leave the industry? How do you want to, what kind of a mark do you want to have? For some of us, we say we love the joy of helping people achieve home ownership, and that's very important. I know it gets overused, but it's still important.
Yeah.
Okay. That needs like we gotta like renew the focus here and remind ourselves why we're doing things, what we're doing it for, and just channel that. Because if you do, and the purpose and the mission is so strong, you'll have boundless energy because you'll just be so committed to what it is that you're doing. Because again, the purpose, the mission, the tactics, the process, all of it is just lining up and you are just executing. Even if you have bad days, it's totally fine. We have shit days, it's totally part of it. You can't always have an amazing day. But did I make some kind of progress today? Did I take one step towards something? Good. Okay, that's
Yeah.
progress. That's part of my process, right? That's how it has to be. So I think everyone needs to take a little bit of pressure off themselves because I'm reading here in terms of like what some of the challenges were. A lot of this is all just like pressure stuff that we're kind of like, well, I'm not doing this, or you feel imposter syndrome, or you feel other people are doing it. Does anyone feel it's too late? Does it like just throw that in the chat, and I'll help rebut this for you because I want to make sure that I help leave you guys with at least the right degree of optimism and looking at this through the right lens on that anybody can do the stuff that I've been doing. Anybody really can. I'm not just saying that, guys. Like, I don't benefit from telling you that. I'm doing it to implore you because I am not the smartest guy. Like I said, I don't work for the biggest bank. I don't have the cheapest rates. I don't have all the resources. What I do have is effort. And everybody should start thinking about things from an ROE standpoint instead of an ROI. because a lot of you might be thinking, well, I don't want to get onto social. And again, everyone drop this in the chat. Do you think it's too late to get onto social and start a presence if you've been a little bit on the fence, or maybe you just haven't gone all in on it? You can say it is absolutely not. No, you're right, Lori. It's not all. It's not, because 90% of our industry posts and shares content that is of no relevance or benefit to the end user or consumer. It's all self-gratifying. It's bullshit. I just listed this. I just sold that. I just made President's Club. We closed this. Or it's pictures of them on vacation, which is all fine and dandy, but it doesn't help anyone out. So if you post something or share something, or you start getting more vocal, whatever it is, whatever your thing is, whether it's email, whether it's video, whether it's TV, whatever it is, if you just do something that is just a little bit in service to other people, you'll already be better and show more competence than 90% of our industry. And that is
Yeah.
why the opportunity is so big. This literally just comes down to, as Kai said, when you see far less competent people doing well, this is ROE, which is return on effort. It's
Yeah.
all return on effort. It's not return on investment. It's return on effort. If you make the effort and you're relentless about it, and for those like, I don't have the time for this, I always rebut by saying you don't have time to be good at your job, because all this stuff is just making us better at our work, better communicators, better messengers, better understanders of the market and what's going on and translating that information for everyone else. We all have time to be better at our jobs. That's what this is. And now you're doing it in a platform and a medium to where you can get better at your job, study some things, talk about it, sound more intelligent, sound more relevant, sound more helpful, and do it to many. And even if 100 people paid attention to it, how long would it take you to get in front of 100 people?
Yeah.
Months.
You know what's interesting is that I want everybody to remember something. As hard as it is to get to the top, it's just as hard to stay there. Think about it. Arjun was on top of the world in 2007, world champion, but he lost in 2012. That means somebody new came and took the spot. But through hard, so in other words, it wasn't owed to him. He had to work just as hard to get back to the same spot again. And so if you think it's too late because you see the people at the top and you say that they're untouchable, do you know how hard they have to work to stay there? Because some of you that have been in the industry for a while, there was probably a year that you felt on top. And if you slipped in that, you slipped from that position, somebody else took it. So every year, everybody gets the audition all over again. Nothing is given, nothing is assumed. Every single year, every single day, and just ask yourself this question. If I won today, if I beat my competition today, if I did more than them today, and I keep doing that, I'm going to climb the ladder faster than them. And that's what we have to think about. We're wrapping up near the end. I don't know if you have any closing thoughts, but I'd like to talk a little bit about LFG Society. But did you have
Yeah.
any other thoughts
Oh,
that
just listen, guys. I care about this industry a lot, and I care about all of us. I genuinely do. If you know me, you know I'll do anything to help people within our industry because I believe in it. I'm 100% all in. I want everyone else to be there with me. And I think we just have tremendous responsibility as stewards of this industry to leave it better than the way we found it. And I think we're all doing, if you're still in this industry at this point at this time on the calendar year of 2025, then you're clearly a good steward of it. Whether you need to ratchet up the belief a little bit more is another thing. And we talked about that today. So I hope I left you with something to think about or ponder or reflect on. But I will tell you this, if you need help with anything, just reach out to me. My Instagram handle is right here, the name in the bottom left here of my image on the Zoom at Arjun Mortgage. Just write to me anytime. There's a lot of stuff that I do with Kai in this community. And Kai, anytime you want to do anything, I'll come back and do it if it's going to help people out with just even the basics of getting started and not feel so overwhelmed. Because I know there's a lot out there and there's so much information and so much access to things. And it's like, where do I start? We can keep this simple, but I'm just imploring you to do something and take some type of micro step because that's what's going to get you moving in the right direction. The only other thing I ask, guys, this is my only ask of people ever in this. Everything I'm talking about is all mindset driven. So much of it has been inspired because of my work with Kai over the last, God knows how many, 15 years, Kai, 16 years, 16 years. You know how much money I've paid this guy? No, I'm kidding. No, but listen, it's nothing I can ever be without. I think I told him that. I told him back in 2012, like, I'll never not have you in my life. It's just too important to me. Having a performance and mindset coach, not just a mortgage coach, because it's evolved over the years, is paramount. It's a huge part of my success with everything I'm doing. But the one thing I'll ask of everyone, because if this was helpful today and where you can stay plugged in, again, of course, you can always reach out to me. But I launched the LFG Energy podcast. Okay. This podcast came out a little less than a year ago, And it's all short sound bites. They're very easy to digest, typically like 8 to 10 minutes long on the solo episodes and the collabs. Had some incredible interviews, but it's all focused on everyone's resilience, bouncing back. Any industry could relate to it, but of course, there's a lot of us in real estate and mortgage that understand some of these stories. I knew we had something good going because we debuted at number 12 on Apple's careers list. So if you guys wouldn't mind, because it helps the show continue to grow, if you're a podcast person, just scan that QR code and just hit the subscribe button to it so that we can continue to have this show grow because I'm excited about it. And there's some great things that are coming up over the course of the rest of the year, including some incredible Olympians, really well-known commodities about mindset and what they've done and how they overcame and got over loss. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. But Kai, what did you want to wrap with here?
Oh, do you want to talk a little bit about the society?
Yeah, I'd love to. So how many is there anyone here in the group that is part of the LFG Energy Society?
I
Is there
saw
not?
Alex Miller and a couple random people already.
Yeah.
They were here.
Yep. Okay. Well, if you, oh, I'll put the QR code back up. Sorry about that, Mark. Let me find it. It went away here. But guys, community is a really, really important thing. Let's see here. As I pull this up, why is it up?
You got to just share your screen.
Hold on a sec here. There we go. And okay, it should be up now. So I'll leave that up so that everyone's got it. But community, guys, is really, really important. You guys are part of this community, which is great for originators and some real estate professionals. I wanted to create something where people had proximity to really high level thought leaders, authors, entrepreneurs, athletes, champions, whatever it is, where they don't necessarily get that kind of access because being part of certain masterminds can cost a lot of money. And I'm part of some and they're great, but they require a lot of travel. It's expensive. I wanted to create something that created more proximity, but did it on an online level with some elements of being able to meet up in person, of course, and just be focused on everyone's betterment as a human being. The business stuff is all secondary, but if we are not full in our hearts and clear in our minds, none of this shit matters. None of it. So that's something that I'm very committed to. I've always been. It's been a huge passion of mine, and I wanted to fuse it in with the industry itself and other industries, of course. So we started a little over a year ago, or about a year and a half now, the LFG Society, which is just a community and collective group of people that just want to be better. We meet once a month with calls. We've got this great online community and space where everyone interacts and networks amongst each other. It's a fast growing community all across the country. We've got some people from Canada that have recently joined. So I guess you could say we're international now. And Kai's a faculty member of it, does a lot of contribution on there as well as some other coaches. But we do some business focus, guys. Don't get me wrong. But really what this thing is really focused and dialed in on is everybody moving the needle in their lives on a personal level and unblocking limiting beliefs, maybe reconciling their relationship with money, with success, with achievement, whatever that is. And nobody focuses on that because everything is all focused on here's how to make $1 million. Here's how to do this. Here's how to do that. And it's important. Don't get me wrong. But this stuff, the human side of it, is really the glue that's going to make all that other stuff stick together because any success or money you make will be really short lived if you're not good in the mind and the heart. So I want to make sure that that's my mission. And that's what we have is this community. It's a subscription model that people can join by. I'm going to drop it in the chat where you guys can actually check this out. But if you are looking for community and you wanted proximity to some great people, but didn't want to be part of like a very expensive mastermind, this is absolutely categorically for you. And the biggest thing too, guys, we give everyone the opportunity to contribute themselves. I want to hear from people that are part of it, not just you go and absorb from everyone else, but we do a lot of spotlighting within the group because I want to hear about your story, about how you overcame a really serious death or an injury that nearly left you paralyzed, or you beat cancer, or something that you're doing right now in life today, or how you overcame having a child that was very ill for so long and what that was like. Everybody else draws inspiration from that. So I want to lift other people up by sharing our members' stories. And this gives people the platform to be able to do that. So I'm going to drop this in the chat here for you guys.
And we'll send out
And that,
we'll send an email as well with everybody to get. So you will all get a follow-up email with the link to the podcast and to society. I love the society because you get to meet a lot of business people and other walks of life. And so we talked about visibility, but also proximity to other high achieving performing professionals. But Arjun, I really appreciate you helping a lot of people that maybe felt like a 7. I know Dylan was a 3, but that's the mindset of a champion, guys. And if you got to go rent Rocky 3 again and watch that moment where he finally beat Apollo Creed running on the beach, and that's your moment. Okay. But we need it inside
Yeah.
of us. And I'm actually really proud because we don't always feel this way all the time, but you guys keep coming to these and we get that reminder. We need that, Paul Beck, I'm looking at you. You need that little reminder, right? You got to wake up a little bit. So let's do it. All right. So thank you so much, Arjun. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.